let's start from the basics. When I ask you what are the elements of earth, how do you answer that? You answer earth, fire, water and air. So how did you find that out? Those four things are what the earth is made of. So when I ask you what are the elements of a building, what's your answer? Simple. It's the things that make up a building. Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Measure. In this channel, we talk about everything related to quantity surveying, or as students and future quantity surveyors. I'm a quantity surveying graduate, passionate to share what I learned so you can navigate this field easily. In today's video, we're going to be tackling all the essential elements that you need to know in a building in a construction site. What's so important about essential elements? Essential elements are important because they provide a sense of integrity to the structure. There is a better judgment on the cost, there's better sustainability, and there's structural functionality. Knowing the needs of the elements and what elements are important in a building can really provide on how to stabilize a building. It makes sure that there's a stability in its strength and it provides the function that it's made for, and it's also cost-friendly or cost-effective and sustainable according to the building of the codes. Along with that, you should know the functionality of the building as well, or the building element as well. For example, if it's a wall, what is it supposed to do? It's supposed to protect you from the outside world. It has to be insulated so it's not suffocating. So all these input information should be able to be analyzed when you're considering that specific element. And another thing that you need to know is how to integrate all this together into one structure by itself. By knowing exactly which element you're handling, you can know how to aesthetically please itself for the building. Make sure it's environmentally friendly, make sure it's up to the building standard, and we enjoy the space that the element brings us. The definition of essential element is a fundamental component that forms a structure and contributes to its functionality, stability, and usability. Without further ado, let's go into the list of elements. The first element that you should know is foundation. It's pretty much the most essential element to start constructing a building. We sometimes call it substructure. It is below the ground and it kind of gives the support to bear the load that's going to be put up front. So foundation is one of the essential first elements that we have to talk about. There are different types of foundations, from raft, pad, piling, and so on and so forth. There are shallow foundations, there are deep foundations, and it all depends on how much the building is going to be bearing. Other factors that also need to be considered when you're deciding on the foundation is the soil condition, the weather condition, the area, the environment that you're building the project in, and as I mentioned before, the load distribution of the building. The next essential element is superstructure. In superstructure, we're considering all the concrete work that happens above ground. That'll be the beams, the slabs, the columns, and all this section of superstructure as an element, it's constructed with concrete or sometimes steel or wood as well. So we covered the foundation area element, then we covered the superstructure element, then we go on to the roof. Roof is the next element in our list. There are obviously different types of roof. It's been evolving since a long time, from using leaves to be able to use stones and then using plates. Now we are going on to even solar-powered roofing sheets and roofing panels as well. So roof is kind of to give an overhead protection for the building itself, and it's one of the main elements that you need to know that constructs a building. The fourth element of a building is the surroundings, so the external factors. So for example, we've covered the foundation, the superstructure, the roofing, and now we go on to what surrounds and covers the building. Those are walls, doors, and windows. So these elements also take a part in being essential. Without walls, you can't construct an enclosed building, and with doors and windows, those are what we circulate the air through, and that's the access to coming in and out of a building. The next essential element is flooring and internal finishes. So any type of finishes really comes under as a factor of element. So to have a concrete floor or a wooden flooring or a marbled or a tiled flooring, it depends on the structure and the scope of the building, but that's also another element. And then there's also internal wall elements, which is if you're painting for it or you're doing some tiles, or if you're going for a wooden texture or kind of like a modern art kind of sector. So all these things need to be considered when you're considering the internal walls and the internal finishes of the element. Then we have the ceiling finishes as well included in this, and this is also another element that we need to consider, to have kind of like an insulated ceiling, maybe even a heated ceiling. Most people do heated floor pads and heated walls to make sure it's insulated. Now we go on to the tiny bits and pieces of a building that we maybe even sometimes forget to consider when we're talking about construction. We have the structural parts, structural elements of a building. Now we go on to the inside bits. So if we have a kitchen, we should have plumbing, and we need light, so that's electrical. So these structures and these parts of a building are also essential elements. Added onto that, we might even consider HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning sectors. These are a separate element that we need to consider in a building. And later on, even security, if there's any need for CCTV cameras, those elements come under one of the essential elements in a building structure. And do you remember I talked about solar panels in the roofing sheets? So these are sustainable elements. They are under sustainable sections of a building. We might have solar panels added onto the building, which comes as a separate element. Or if not, if the roofs are solar panel themselves, which is something that's being introduced in the UK. Or if you're using materials that are environmentally friendly and they are green. So these are also a type of elements that we can consider in a building. Alright, that's it for this video. It's kind of short, but it's a big introduction to the basics of the elements of building. I hope you guys understood everything and you guys found something useful and you've learned something new. If you like the video, make sure you give a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribing, because I post a video once a week and you can be notified about it and you can learn something new every week. And if you liked it as well, share it with your friends so they learn something new, and I'll see you in the next video.